Welcome to the John Brunty Show, a place to meet people and listen to their stories. I want to know what makes individuals tick, what they have been through, and what their future plans are. Life is about the journey, and that's what we are here to discuss. These are lessons for us all. I hope you enjoy the show. Please follow, share, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks and happy listening. And today I am speaking here with none other than Ruby Mary Mother Shucker Sparrow in the flesh in her B&B. Ruby Mary Mother Shucker, how are you today?
Well, I'm just fine. I've not expected to be on anybody's podcast.
Well, congratulations.
But I will do it for you.
Well, thank you so
much.
much.
We've been through a lot.
Yes. And you're familiar with podcasts because of The Young and the Restless, correct?
That's right, because on The Young and the Restless, Billy Boy Abbott has his own podcast at night.
Well, he'll be calling you after this, I'm sure. Mother Shucker, we have known each other since the late 80s, early 90s, when we were very young. We won't say how old we were then, but
I don't think our hair was gray.
Our hair was not gray. You had red hair. I had black hair.
Definitely. Now we match.
Right, exactly. We look like twins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so do you remember what career you were in then?
I had moved to Columbia because for the last 30 years before moving to Columbia from North Carolina, I had been in a position of sales with educational publishing companies such as Scholastic magazines. And I traveled quite a bit, and it was sort of getting on my last nerve, so I came here to work for a stationery job with the R.L. Bryan Company. And we helped establish a new division working with Charlie Dickerson, which many people loved. And we started a new company which was under R.L. Bryan. And then I decided that after the years of doing that, for a couple of years, I would stay in Columbia. At that point in time, I had become very tired of traveling on an airplane. So I took South Carolina as a territory and started working and built a degree of different products from different companies, and that's what I did. I called on schools during that time. My son had come to school at college here, and he was graduating at about the same time after I'd been here a couple of years. He was getting married, and all of a sudden we were getting ready to have a baby, and I said, I'm not leaving Columbia because I'm getting a baby.
Exactly.
So I stayed here and wound up working with my daughter-in-law, who helped me with the educational sales. My son started helping me with that. At the same time, I went back to an old career that I'd started when I was really young, which was real estate. And I decided that we'd ease into the real estate because the market was ending for textbooks, and they were going into the computer-based instruction, for which I was too old to learn that, and so I thought I'd get out of it then. So that's what happened, and I started selling houses full-time. So the educational sales thing led to the real estate. It was all about sales. Enjoyed both of those, and then one thing led to another, and now we are watching my son open the oyster bar. He decided he didn't want to be an educational salesman when he was 50,
right,
like I was, and that he would start his own restaurant, which we all laughed and thought it was a big joke, but he did it.
Had he ever been in the restaurant business before?
Well, he had been a bartender at the Salty Nut.
Well, there you go.
5 Points.
Yeah.
That's what he told
so
me.
So why not own a restaurant? It's as a former restaurant employee, every restaurant employee, why not own a restaurant? Yes.
And the funny thing about it was he had made friends over the years. We lived in a small town in North Carolina, and there was a little oyster bar there called the Sunnyside. So he went back home and talked to those guys, and they said they didn't care. They told him what they were doing because they'd never opened a restaurant in Columbia. So he came by, wrote it down on a piece of paper, went to every bank in town. Nobody would loan him any money because they thought it was a big joke. He went to the Vista, and he found the place that he is still there. We've been there almost 21 years. The way he got the money, he knocked on bank doors with his little business plan. He joked about that because he said, Mom, I did go to school of business for a reason. I joked about it, but apparently it hit somebody's nerve, and a lady from Wachovia at the time called him back and loaned him the money to start his restaurant.
Wow. And that was, 20 years ago?
That was in 2001.
Wow, so 21 years ago, if my math is correct.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
it is still there, and thankfully has survived COVID and all the other things that have been hard to get through in the restaurant business. But during the process of the time, I remember standing there the night they opened the restaurant. I remember it was October 23rd, and they threw the restaurant doors open, and I said, "Okay, John, what do you want me to do?" He said, "Mom, just do what you do," which was no direction. So I started doing what I did, which was be the mom and help with the people and hostessing and washing dishes and everything that you do in the back office of a restaurant, except they don't let me do alcohol and they don't let me touch the money. But other than that, I'm pretty good at all the duties except shucking oysters. I can't do that either.
Right, yeah. I don't ever want to learn how to do that.
But that's what we've been doing for 20 years.
So neither one of y'all had ever been in the restaurant business, opened up a restaurant, and it's been in business for 21 years. And let's just say to the listeners, do not try this at home, because it's very rare that restaurants last any amount of time, especially with seasoned people, even with seasoned people.
That's a really good point. I think John's concept was that his whole premise with the bank was there's never been anything like this in Columbia, and there probably needs to be this. Mm-hmm. And we grew up in this little town where the oyster bar there, which was called the Sunnyside, which many people have been there, was successful for almost 100 years. And it literally was a hole in the wall. So he sort of recreated that. Over time, as people came in and they all called me Mama Ruby or Mom, one of the young Shuckers turned at me one night and said, "Ruby, you're really not our mom," which sort of hurt my feelings. And I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "Because you're our mother Shucker," that's how I got branded.
Yes.
And over time, people wanted it linked into the sauce that John and the family recipe was in the oyster bar, this cocktail sauce. He decided we would bottle it. And that led into a procedure that neither one of us knew how to do. With the help of a man named Fred Monk and his team at the university, they guided me with the Department of Agriculture, and we decided to bottle the sauce.
What is the best resource for someone who wants to bring a product to market?
Well, you've got to find somebody at the state level that can guide you through the regulations.
So state level, do you mean like the Department of Agriculture,
in
their
this
website?
Case, a food product, yes. You go to the Department of Agriculture, you go to the people who certify your product, and then you find somebody that can help you produce your product. Being in your own kitchen, not necessarily, no. You have to find a commercial kitchen, become licensed to do it. There's a lot of steps to get one little brownie organized and on the market.
Right.
So it's not for the faint at heart. It takes a lot of processing. It takes quite a bit of discovering whether or not you're going to be able to manufacture it in volume enough to make it worth it, how you're going to distribute it, who's going to carry it, what kind of label are you going to have, how are you going to get the product from where you have it made to market, how many times you're going to have to stand in a Sam's Club and sample them.
Do you have any idea how many of those you've logged?
Well, one too many, and that's why I don't like to do them anymore. Now, I used to do them at a place called Crave.
Yeah,
I quit that.
I remember. So let me ask, why the sauce and not like the grouter or the tartar sauce or something like that?
That's really pretty easy because it's so delicious, and people can use that sauce on anything from any kind of seafood. And of course, they serve it warm in the oyster bar, anybody that's ever been, but in the jar itself, it's delicious out of the jar. Mm-hmm. It also can be used as a base for any kind of oyster shooters, Bloody Marys. You can use it on any kind of meat. I think you do that in Crave, don't you?
We do. We have it on the Reuben at Crave. It's the Thousand Island. Ula uses it to make the Thousand Island, and
it's just sort of an all-purpose sauce, and that's why people love it. It tastes delicious. It's not expensive, and we have it co-packed in a place in Hanahan, which is near Charleston, and they bring it up here on an 18-wheeler, back it into my driveway,
your
and
headquarters at the B&B.
International Shipping Distribution headquarters here on Hampton Street.
That's right.
And we ship it out all over, and this is something that has been literally a labor of love, because we did go all over and market it. We tried with the fancy food shows, and we had products distributed all up in New York area, the Giant Foods and some Sam's and Costco's and places like that. But to be honest with you, there's very little profit in the margins of any food product. So we just do it now on a basis for us. We have mainly our distribution is through mom and pop stores, seafood markets, grocery stores, little grocery stores, and some like Lowe's, big and Publix and places like that. But
do you deliver it or do you ship it out?
I ship it. And now on the local basis, I deliver it to garden stores and fish markets here and butcher shops here.
And Crave,
yes. When you call me, I bring it to you on that day, do I not?
You're very good at that. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. But I do most of the delivery. We sell a lot of it out of the oyster bar. It's a very successful little product. Now, for those people who are listening to this and think you're going to get filthy rich, you will not.
No.
There's too much margin, because when you really stop and talk about a $6 bottle of sauce, and the production costs are almost half that, and then your time to distribute and deliver and all that, there's really no margin in it. Now we're of course waiting for somebody like Heinz to buy a recipe, and then we'll be filthy rich.
Said everybody everywhere. And I think that's the big misconception when people, they go to the family barbecue and everybody loves this barbecue sauce and they want to bring it to market because they love making it in their kitchen for that barbecue sauce and getting the accolades. But then when it comes down to it and all of the work that's involved, would you say that's the biggest surprise you had? Like, what did you think? Did you think that you were going to get rich or that Heinz was going to buy it?
I really was hoping that would happen.
Right.
Because it's a good product. And who's to say it won't? Now, I remember at one point Sam's was getting ready to ask us to use it as a private label product. And they were going to market it under their members only because they liked the product. Their offer to us was almost a sneeze. It was not worth it. And so, in other words, they were sort of trying to steal our recipe, not to use that as a bad term, but that's exactly what they wanted, was the recipe, and they didn't want to pay us. So we just said no.
Right. If any of Sam Walton's heirs are listening to this, I don't know who this lady is. I'm sure they're all listening with bated breath and ready to sue you and take everything too, by the way.
Well, I mean, really, what can you say? The truth is the truth.
Right. Now, so what would you, if Sam's were going to use it as their Members Mark label, what would you have had to do in that process?
Well, we would have to sign over the recipe.
Okay.
And I think we probably could have still marketed Mother Shucker. And they would have probably made a big deal of it and gotten it, of course, in all their stores. It just never got to the level that we felt comfortable, and the conversation stopped. Really, we never really pursued it.
Right.
So what we do with it now is literally on an on-call basis. Somebody called me yesterday from Palmetto Bluff, down in Bluffton. I shipped out.
I'll take it there.
Okay.
I'll deliver that, please.
So I ship out anywhere from 4 to 8 to 20 cases in 2 days.
Wow.
Some days it's a lot. Some days it's nothing. So it's just an on-call basis.
Yeah. And and they can get it on your website too, correct? Can they order it on your website or do they call you?
They need to call me because the website charges too much extra money. They call me directly. It's the easiest thing to do.
And people can buy it wholesale if they own a store, or if, like my sister, when we're talking about uses of it, she's your best person to go to for all the uses because she puts it on pork and everything, chicken. She's a great spokesperson for it. But like if she's sitting in, Myrtle Beach or something, and she can order it, call you and get it shipped to her, correct? Does she pay retail price or is that wholesale?
Generally, if people call me directly and I ship them 4 or 5 cases, 4 or 5 bottles. Okay. I usually discount it.
Okay. Thanks for putting a big piece of ice in your mouth while we're doing a podcast.
Thirsty.
Right. That was smooth.
I hope everybody hears that crunch.
Yeah.
Part of my problem right now is that when I had COVID, I lost all my taste, and the only thing I like to do is crunch things like potato chips and ice. So
Right.
sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to keep the potato chips from you for the rest of this very world-renowned interview.
If people were sitting here with us, they would be laughing too.
Yeah, exactly. Be chomping ice. All right.
I have to admit, though, now, back in the early days, the person that helped me distribute sauce to grocery stores was a guy named John Bronte.
Right, yes. Wow.
And that was one of those experiments.
Talk about learning a big lesson. Talk about not getting rich on the food business.
That's right. I mean,
Yes.
and we all learned from that. Each one of us who had a product learned from that.
Yes, yeah. Well,
And we learned how the grocery stores or the big markets, if you don't sell, if Mother Shucker sauce doesn't just run off the shelf with people buying it, they call and they want you to come get it and pick it up. And they don't give you your money back.
no.
No.
They take your money back that you paid them, and they take it out of what they owe you. And, my biggest lesson in that is that I thought, well, nobody's distributing local products. I'll do it because nobody's doing it. I'll make a fortune. And biggest lesson here, and please break out your pens and papers, fans. If nobody's doing something, it's usually because there's no money in it. It's not because I was so unique and had this great powerhouse idea that I was the only one smart enough to come up with that. Anyway, back to you. So so fast forward, oyster, we meet, you've got the cocktail sauce. Then I opened Crave with you. We were together on that and created that name together. And you had the big part of that name. You came up with the cravings, whatever. And we had a gay old time. And then, but you've also been selling real estate all along. So tell me about that. So now I'm just trying to get your jobs. You're hostessing at the Oyster Bar.
That's right.
You're hostessing at the Oyster Bar, you're selling real estate, and then you were helping in Crave during the day too, in between real estate showings.
That's right.
And then,
Well, that wasn't enough.
right, no.
Well, the Oyster Bar did that every night. And we did a lot of, there's a lot involved with selling the Mother Shucker sauce. It's just time consuming from the shipping to the distribution. The real estate is what it is, and I love that. I wound up after Crave, I know what I did. I went to work for the university.
Yes.
I was a consultant at the university.
Yes.
And part of my job was work for the Export Consortium, and we worked with small businesses like Mother Shucker, trying to get products exported, and there was a grant opportunity. So I was hired to do that, and we worked with some very smart young people, interns. We were around store to store, company to company. We helped put their products on the map. And many of them we got them distributed in places they never would have. But it was those smart young people that did it. And my experience was to talk to people who thought that they had a product that they wanted to develop. And we put all the pros and cons together. And I must admit, I probably talked more people out of doing it than I talked with people to do it. But I'm glad I did that because they would have lost a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because it was a daunting task to take one product to market.
I want to, first of all, I'm going to have a consulting company and call it What Not to Do. And then I think the headline will read, I'm probably going to tell you not to do this, but since you won't listen to that advice, hire me because I'll save you the most money and time. Because we've learned. Now, you have a bucket list, and on that bucket list was owning a B&B.
That's true.
And
I always
here
wanted
we
to do
are.
it. And here we are sitting in the bed and breakfast.
Yes.
It was the home of Mary Boykin Chestnut about in 1850, and she and her husband were famous in the pre-Civil War factions of the world. And now we have right here, we have Mary Boykin's diary that you can read it, or I can give you a synopsis of it. I've read it twice. She was quite a fascinating woman, and if she were living here today, she'd be on target. So I've enjoyed being here. And speaking of being a Mother Shucker, I'm the Mother Shucker here too.
Yes.
Yeah, I boss everybody around.
Right. Do you have staff here?
No, I don't have
Because
a
anytime
staff.
I call you, you're changing sheets or making
I don't have much
breakfast
of staff.
or all the above.
I have some recruits that are my friends. I make them come help me to do breakfast.
Yes.
And I use my college friends, all my grandchildren's college friends help me come and clean the rooms.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a team effort.
Uh-huh.
But people do have a good time here.
That's good. Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. You're
do.
quite the hostess.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the mother Shucker. So I think, anytime anybody mentions your name, it's like she's crazy, she works too much, she works so hard, she's the hardest working woman in Columbia or person in Columbia. So just to run down for those that fell asleep a few minutes ago, you've got the Oyster Bar now. You are still selling the sauce, because you'll do a demo and stuff like that, participate in the South Carolina Specialty Food Association events. You've got real estate and a B&B. If you had to choose one of those, what would it be?
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
That's why I keep doing what I'm
What
doing.
is that?
I don't know why. I remember just recently Betty White died, and one of the things she said, two of the things actually, that she said, I went, oh my gosh, I'm just like Betty White. And one of the things when she said, the one reason she felt she lived a long time is she never stopped moving. She said, just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. I feel like I do that anyway, and I think I copied that from my mother, to be honest with you. I remember her doing that. And the other thing she said she never did was eat greens, and I hate greens.
There you go.
There
you go.
So that's the secret.
Right.
However, I really would not like to give up any of it. I like all of it.
Yeah.
I think the blend of having a balance of different things makes life interesting.
Right. Well, and you do that well.
Well, I have a good time. I think the point is just have a good time with all of it. Now, I fuss, and I get tired, and I cry sometimes because I'm so tired. I don't know how I'm going to get the house clean, because tomorrow we have all new people coming in, and how am I going to cook breakfast for 16 people? I mean, I just freak out a little bit, but it always works.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine you crying over it, though, because you seem to always be balancing all the balls.
I don't think I call it crying. I think I call it cussing.
Yeah, because you just said crying. I'm like, come on.
Not really.
Come on. I don't see those tears coming out.
No.
Yeah.
No, I usually throw something first.
There you go. Now, then I cry too.
Okay.
Oh, see, I do cry. Mm-hmm. All right, so great. So where can we find you? What's the website, the social?
Well, on Facebook, it's Mother Shucker Sauce, Mother Shucker's Original Cocktail Sauce, or the Oyster Bar. And Facebook, my name is Mary Sparrow. If you want to friend me, or I love having friends on my Facebook page.
Your daughter is named Mary Sparrow, a very talented
She's a portrait artist, and she is an absolutely accomplished portrait artist. Her gallery name is Hanging the Moon. But she loves to paint portraits of children, some adults. She's great at animals, horses and dogs and kitties and pigs and stuff like that. And she
actually painted drew the logo on the Mother Shucker bottle.
She did. That was a kind of a funny story, because John said we were driving down to Charleston to try to talk to a guy about bottling the sauce, and we didn't know what we were doing. And I said, well, John, when we get there, if he likes the recipe and he starts bottling, we're gonna have to market this stuff. He said, Mom, I didn't go to business school for nothing, man. I got this. He said, I've already got this whole. I said, you got a logo? He said, yeah, I got a logo and everything. So he pulls out of his pocket this sketch of me. I said, where did you get that? He said, I called Mary, that's his sister, and said, sketch a stupid picture, Mom. I'm going to put her on the jar. That's the picture that's on Mother Shucker Sauce. Yeah. So she sketched that from memory, emailed it to him. He showed it to me, and the rest is history. It was never doctored up. And that's what's on the jar. So she was responsible for that.
That's awesome.
And she's still painting, and she takes full credit for her Mother Shucker sketches. Thinks that she should be getting royalties.
Yes, yes. Well, there goes that margin even more.
Where I told her when I made profit, I'd give her.
She'd get some royalties. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure all the listeners are lined up, stopped in the street. Have enjoyed it as well.
Well, they need to come around to the bed and breakfast on Hampton Street with us and sit on this front porch.
Yeah,
and enjoy it. Porch. It's just a gorgeous old house, and that's one of the neatest things, is to be able to take something that needed help and make it work.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just like Crave. It needed help, and we made it work.
Yes, it still needs help. Now, I think if they come by the Chestnut Cottage here, they can also see you act out scenes of the diary. Is that what you do?
Yeah. Watch me do that.
Yeah.
Watch me put on my little shawl and go for it.
Right. There we go. All right. Thank you, Mother Shucker.
Well, y'all, I've enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to hear the other podcasts. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks. Bye.